I got two friends who wanted to get into entrepreneurship. We'll call one of them Brandon and we'll call one of them Nick. Brandon did his research. He launched a business and within 4 months, he was doing $100,000 a month. Nick did the same thing, did a little bit of research, launched a business, and 8 months later, he was bankrupt. He was out of the game. Why? I've spent years buying, selling, launching businesses. I've failed a ton. I've also succeeded some. And Nick, that's weird. It's my name. Made the same mistake that I see many first-time rookie entrepreneurs make. And the mistake, he evaluated it like a 20-year veteran when he'd never run anything. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to score a business like a rookie so you don't buy yourself or start yourself a business that turns into a nightmare. Okay, so my friend Nick, he launches this business and he does like all the analysis, right? All the analysis that you're supposed to do, like when you're in your MBA program. Does it have a moat? Does it have sticky customers? Do they have pricing power? All these things. And he launches, and within 8 months, everything's gone. This was a restaurant business. And all of a sudden, he's dealing with constant staffing turnover, razor thin margins. That like the health department is there. It's a huge mess. The problem that he made, that I see many first-time entrepreneurs make, is that he was evaluating the business assuming that he had the experience. You know, when these guys who are getting their MBAs are looking at businesses and they're looking at it on paper or in a spreadsheet, it's like, oh, this should work because of blah, blah, blah. But the truth is they don't know these businesses yet. And that's a huge factor that they never consider during their evaluation. So here are some like quick examples, I guess, that you can kind of think about. Just hire good managers, right? Oh, I'm going to buy a business and I'm going to hire a good manager. Have you ever hired anyone before? You ever managed anyone before? Or my personal favorite, I'm going to create some passive income streams when you've never actually operated the business. Do you know how hard it is to create something where it's to the place where it's like passively spitting off cash? You've either got to be independently wealthy or you've built something to the point where you can step out. Or many of them, they focus on like, I'm going to focus on systems, not operations. But the truth is like, you're the only system that works in this business, right? Here's the brutal truth for first-time entrepreneurs and rookies. In your first business, you are the business. Your willingness to outwork everybody else is really your competitive advantage. You don't have more money. You don't have more experience. You don't have more relationships necessarily. The only thing that you can differentiate on is your willingness to just get out and get after it every single day. And so you can't hire your way out of that inexperience. You can't systematize things that you don't understand. You have to operate first. And what I see many first-time entrepreneurs doing is this like evaluation of businesses based on theoretically what it should be. And they never add into the mix the actual differentiator in these first businesses, which is you. Do I have the skill set or do I have the experience or can I do XYZ things in order for this to be successful? So you need, as a rookie, as a first-time entrepreneur, you need to be evaluating these businesses and assuming you will be doing everything, at least at first. Then you can graduate. Right? Once you have more money or once you have more experience, then you can talk about like, oh, what's my differentiator? What's my competitive advantage? But right now, for many people who are trying to get into entrepreneurship, and I'm getting more and more questions for it, you need to assume that you're going to do everything. And that is not bad for your first business. Like, can we just dispel that right now? Can we stop talking about, oh, I'd want to get into business and hire somebody else because I don't want to be like working in the business. I want to be working on the business. Like, no, dude, you're not there yet. Like, why do you assume that you're in a position to be working quote unquote on the business when you've never worked in the business? That is a gradual process. You can't just skip the line and get to the point where you're working on the business. You need to actually evaluate the business first. And so I have this like evaluation framework that I usually use. It's 8 points. And I typically use it for people who have experience and they're trying to get into a business, usually buying a business. But since I'm getting more and more questions about how do I just get into entrepreneurship generally, I thought I'd break this down for first time rookie entrepreneurs, if you will. And there are 4 rookie realities that I've kind of broken this out into, and I've added each one of those 8 evaluating criteria into. So I'm going to pull this up really quickly. Okay. So what you're looking at here is the 4 rookie realities. And these are the questions that every potential entrepreneur or entrepreneur has to answer before they actually get into the game. So reality number 1 is, can I personally handle the daily operations of the business? Truth is, you're going to be doing everything. In that, I like to break it down to operational complexity and people complexity, because those are 2 different things. Operational complexity, systems, fulfillment, et cetera. People complexity is How many people does it take for me to actually do this job? Reality number 2, can I personally get customers? Any new business without revenue coming in is dead. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how cool your systems are. If you can't get business, you're dead. I had to learn this the hard way. I'm a operator by nature. I had never started a business from scratch. And the minute that I realized that first-time founders focus on product, second-time founders focus on distribution, everything switched for me. Because the ability to sell your product is more important, not just my opinion, many investors' opinion, than the product itself. So can you personally get customers? And within that customer acquisition, we're going to talk about and the revenue model. Number 3, can you personally survive the learning curve? Every business has what's called the J curve. If you buy a business, what happens is you buy the business and the business dips, and then there's a trough, and then it comes back out of it and it shapes in this J, right? And usually you talk about that in the terms of working capital or cash in the business. But it's the same thing when you start a business from scratch. There's a learning curve. There's a J curve where you start out good, optimistic, and then you just kind of realize, holy crap, I don't know anything. I'm a freaking idiot, and everything takes a step back, and then you come out of it, right? There's a J curve. So in order to survive the J curve, in order to survive that learning curve, you've got to have a business that has good margins and enough cash on hand to actually play the game. And the last reality, can I personally grow this without breaking? So we're going to look at how do you evaluate macro tailwinds and how do you evaluate scalability of these systems individually. So as you can see, those are the 8 criteria that I typically look through, and they have weighting next to them. That's what those numbers are. We'll talk about this later. But I love thinking of it in these 4 sort of reality checks for first-time entrepreneurs, because they're just 4 easy buckets, right? Could I personally do fulfillment? Can I go out and get business? Am I able to survive this long enough as I'm learning it? And can I grow it once I've actually learned it? Okay, so reality number 1, can I personally handle the daily operations? The number 1 rookie mistake, this is it. The number 1 rookie killer, I should say, it isn't market risk. It's thinking you can delegate your way out of operations in day 1. That is a myth. This whole thing of, well, I'm just going to buy a business and hire an operator, or I'm going to start a business because I have a guy who can do the operations. Do you understand how ludicrous that sounds? You're going to go and risk your capital, and in many instances, your entire net worth on a business that you've potentially never run before, and hire that out to somebody else. You don't realize you're betting everything on that person. It's not doable, and it's not smart. You've got to really understand when you're evaluating a business opportunity, whether you're starting up an epoxy garage business or you're buying a business, how complex are the daily tasks that I personally have to master, right? Back to the restaurant story. He was dealing with 47 different vendors, health codes, inventory. He was personally managing 16-hour days and scheduling. It's an operationally complex business that you're throwing on top of being a first-time entrepreneur. And you contrast that with something, let's call it pressure washing. Really, all you need to master are 3 things: driving around, spraying the ground, and billing people. That's it. It's not complex, right? So if you're a rookie, if you're a first-time entrepreneur and you're looking at these 2 business opportunities, which one of them could you personally handle all of the operations, from fulfillment to getting customers to billing and collections, all of those things? And if you can't personally execute every critical task well, then you're not ready. Complexity kills rookies because you have to do it all. You can't outsource that stuff to somebody. You don't get to a place you can outsource until you're doing a couple $100,000 in revenue, and you really can't manage what you don't understand. So this idea of, I'll buy a business and I'll figure it out, and just by offloading it to different people, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you can believe me or not believe me. I promise you, if you go out and do it, call me in 6 months and say, oh, you were right. I just had that happen so many times. So that's the first factor when it comes to whether or not you can handle the daily operations, is operational complexity. The second piece is people complexity, right? You need to understand, how many people do you personally have to manage before this makes money? Again, back to the restaurant. In order for me to go and fulfill and sell food to people, I've got to have cooks, I've got to have servers, I've got to have, bus boys. You've got to have a team in place before you can make money. Again, back to the pressure washing company. I can't go make money by myself. I need one person. I need a truck, I need a rig, and I can go. That's it. It's very simple. So think of it like this: a solo handyman, right? Your personal skills, your work ethic, that's the entire value proposition. for that business. You don't need something that's like, oh, I have a competitive advantage because I have a proprietary software. No, your competitive advantage is I have skills and I will freaking work harder than anybody else. So every employee that you bring on kind of dilutes your competitive advantage as the hardest working person in that business if you don't already understand that business, right? So think about this for a second. A lawn care business versus a restaurant. Which one do you think lets you be the competitive advantage? It's pretty obvious, the lawn care business. And I'm not somebody who's just all in for starting businesses from scratch. However, I am somebody who's all in to this idea of that first business, you got to understand it, period, full stop, end of story. And if you have no experience whatsoever, then go and pick something that allows you to handle everything and to be the competitive advantage because you're just going to be outworking everybody else, right? Okay, reality number 2, can I personally get customers? Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you a story real quick. So I worked for this publicly traded company, the Enzyme Group, fantastic company. And the way that they operated, they were a healthcare company. They had many different locations around the country. When I started there, they were like a $15 million segment, this home health and hospice company of the overall business. And they ended up growing into like a $200 million segment. And they've since gone public. They're like $1 billion public company. So I was one of the first employees and they threw me into this acquisition. I had no experience. And I get in there and I freaking crush it. I freaking killed it, right? I mean, because I was smart. I was the smartest guy in the room. It was easy. I'm 28 and I'm the freaking wonder kid. Everybody loves me. Wow, Nick, you're so successful. How did you turn that acquisition from losing $400,000 last year to making $600,000 this year? That's $1 million swing. Wow. I mean, my wife loved me. My friends loved me. Men wanted to be me. What's that phrase? Oh, no, sorry. Every woman wanted to be with me. Men wanted to be me. And I drank my own Kool-Aid and I hopped around. I ended up leaving that location and I went to Texas, Define Texas. And then there was an opportunity to go to California because they were buying this home health agency and everything on paper looked great. They're buying this home health agency. There were other skilled nursing facilities in the area who could refer business to them. And it was like, great, vertical integration. I'll go handle it. Here's the problem. My first stint, remember that one that I crushed it at? Where I turned it from losing 600,000 to making 400 or losing 400, making 600. It was in a market where that home health and hospice was a part of a monopoly. It's called a CON state, certificate of need state. So they only allowed like 4 or 5 competitors. So when I went in there to turn this business around, it wasn't that I was awesome. It was that the previous owner just was billing really terribly. So they were actually not losing $600,000 before I took it over. They were writing off like $800,000 a year because their collections sucked. That's a big difference. Collections sucking versus it's like cash versus accrual accounting. They weren't collecting, but they were doing the business. So I got in there and I just like fixed those processes. Boom, we were making way more money. It's great. And then I got full of myself and, pride comes before the fall. I ended up moving. I find this opportunity in Southern California. This is a small agency, not a lot of people in a massive market. And what I needed to do in order for it to be successful was to go and grow the business. But I didn't quite recognize that, right? So I get in there, I start operating the business and I go from like, oh, Nick, you're one of the 4 horsemen of this business. Oh man, when we go public, you're going to make so much money. Oh, it's going to be amazing. To, oh man, we need to fire Nick. I got fired because I sucked so bad. And like to this day, it's one of the 2 probably worst acquisitions that company has ever done because I was an idiot and I didn't realize and understand that going out and getting business was the most important thing for that business. I thought I could skate by on my operational skills. And so I hunkered down and I played in the spreadsheets and I found every efficiency I could possibly find, but I got fired because I didn't turn it around. I didn't know what I needed to focus on. So video is cool, but I have what scientists call a face for radio. And so what's even cooler is long form audio via my podcast and my newsletter, Nikonomicspod.com. Go there for free, subscribe to my newsletter. It's 1 email per week. It's super tactical. And then go to my audio podcast. I do 3 to 5 episodes a week, depending on how curious I am. And it's stuff like this. It's all free, no sleazy sales pitches, Nikonomicspod.com. So for you, the number 2 reality as you're getting into business is, can you personally get customers? You can't afford a marketing team right now. You don't have sales staff. Your personal hustle gets customers, right? And so the question is, can I personally execute the customer acquisition? Not just fund it, could you personally execute it, right? This is why I love local services businesses, because you have two things in your favor. Number one, I don't know if you've seen this. Meta released their earnings last week or the week before. They freaking crushed it because Facebook ads, Meta ads are insanely, not just profitable, but insanely easy to use and effective for small businesses. I can target anybody. If I put $1 in, usually I'll get $3 out, right? So the reason I bring that up is because for service businesses, home services businesses, Meta ads is amazing. I can spend $1 on there and generate $3 in business. The second reason I like it is because, dude, if Meta's not working, I can go knock doors. And guess what? If I'm a pressure washer, or I'm a window cleaner, or I'm a pest control guy, like there's a very clear before and after. I could do the fulfillment right then and right there. So just go knock doors. It kind of de-risks the how do I go out and find customers. So if customer acquisition requires skills that you can't personally develop quickly, then you're gonna starve. I know that sounds like weird, but it just is what it is. The second factor that I look at within that question, so the first one is like, can I go out and acquire customers? The second one is revenue models. Is, will customers pay me consistently while I personally learn and improve? So let's give an example of a wedding planner. It's all reputation based, right? If I go out and I get a customer and I suck, I'm not going to get any more business after that. So I don't have a revenue stream because it's project based. I don't have a revenue stream to float me until I get it figured out. But if I have an HVAC company and I'm doing maintenance and it's monthly maintenance and I've got recurring revenue or reoccurring revenue, well, then I've got some cushion. I've got some revenue in there to kind of fund me until I can figure stuff out, right? So recurring revenue forgives just a ton of personal mistakes while you're getting better. A perfect example of this would be a friend of mine. His name is Casey McDonald. He owns a pest control company. He went out, he started learning how to knock doors and sell, and he launched a pest control business. And within the first year, he's doing $1 million a year in revenue. He's on pace to do 2 million in this next year, and it's highly profitable, right? But the margins are really high and he's got recurring revenue. So almost immediately he's building this book of business that is allowing him to make some mistakes, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So when it comes to the revenue model, you want to find a revenue model that has enough cushion in there for you to make mistakes over time. Reality number 3, like I was talking about, can I personally survive the learning curve? So the two pieces that I like to look at in this are margins and the cost to play. So like basically the cost to get in the game. For margins, think of it like this. Your personal mistakes are going to come directly out of your bank account because you're funding it, right? And if they're going to be coming personally out of your bank account, then you need a cushion. Like you need big enough margins to be able to absorb your mistakes, just like kind of we were talking about in the previous point. If you've launched a business and you've got 5% margins, you do not have wiggle room to screw up. You just don't. If you launch a business and a digital agency and you got 50% margins, you've got some room to screw up. Like, okay, I have some money there. So I land like 1 or 2 customers. Cool. Now I have some money in the bank where if something happens, I can tap into that and use it. The coolest way that I like to think of it is fat margins are rookie insurance. So they let you learn while you're, while still eating. It's not like one mistake kills you. High margins cover a multitude of sins. The second piece, this cost to play factor. This is like, how much does it cost for me to get in the game, right? So can I personally afford to be wrong and still keep going? Here's 2 examples. One, a manufacturing company. You got to put maybe $500,000 in, right? You got to buy a ton of capital, because there's a ton of capital expenditures, big machines, big equipment, inventory, etc. You mess up in that business, your 500 grand is gone, right? Back to Casey, my friend Casey, he's getting into pest control. There's no huge capital investment up front. If he gets 8 months down the road, sure, there's a large opportunity cost, his time cost, but he didn't sink $500,000 into getting that business up and running. So I like services businesses where your personal tools or your truck or your time or your investment are really only the things that you may lose, as opposed to first-time entrepreneurs getting into capital-heavy businesses or businesses with high startup costs, because not only are you getting into the business for the first time and you're going to be dealing with all of those things, but now you've got a huge amount of risk associated with that. And that just adds to the mental complexity. It adds to the family dynamic. It adds to the stress that comes with running your own business. So from a rookie standpoint, the way you should think about it is like your first business should amplify your personal work ethic, not like your entire future on, right? This last one, reality number 4, can I personally grow this without breaking? What do I mean by this? You're going to get to a place where reality number 1, can I personally handle the operations? Done. Check. Sounds good. Can I personally go out and acquire customers? Yep. I'm getting customers. Great. Number 3, can I survive the learning curve? Cool. I survived the learning curve. Great. You're past all of those. And then you're at this place where it kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but it's like a cruel joke that the universe plays on you, because you're building something that only works when you personally do everything. But now you're to the place where you've got to not be the only one personally doing everything, right? So looking ahead, is this a business that I can nail and scale and then systematize? And this is broken down into kind of the two factors that I have on here, macro trends being one of them. When I say macro trends, you may or may not know what that means. The larger environment. Micro is going to be the smaller environment. Micro triggered, but it's going to be, the larger United States. How's the economy? What does the Fed look like, et cetera? I freaking love businesses with macro tailwinds. I worked in healthcare for a long time. You can make a lot of mistakes working in healthcare because you've got this massive macro tailwind pushing behind you. Think of it like this. If I started a business in a given market in the United States, what is the average annual growth rate in the United States? 2% a year, let's call it. Then on average, every business in that market will grow at 2% a year. So I can expect my business to grow at 2% a year. That's not a ton of growth. There's not a ton of wiggle room in there. I'm probably just average competing against everybody else. What if I start a healthcare business? Do you know what healthcare businesses are freaking growing at? 7, 8, 9, 10, in some cases 20% a year, given the specialty and industry. But healthcare businesses are double, triple, quadruple what average GDP growth is. So think about that. Again, back to what we were talking about. You've got fat margins to play with. You can make a lot of mistakes. I've got this tailwind pushing me. And in the United States, we've got a ton of aging population. The baby boomers are all retiring. There's a lot of scariness that comes with that because you got to figure out like Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security and how we're going to care for all these people. But there's also a lot of opportunity because who's going to care for these people? How do we get in there? So the macro environment, I think, is really important. And you need to look at whatever business you're looking at. Is the market helping your personal efforts or is it fighting them? If you're a bookstore in 2010, it doesn't matter how good your personal customer service is or how passionate you are. You're playing against Amazon. You're going to lose. Period. End of story. If you're a home healthcare business today, that market is amplifying your business, right? Like you're going to work hard, but you're also going to have this multiplier effect of the macro environment pushing behind you. So again, when you are the competitive advantage, you need the market pulling for you, not fighting against you. Do not, there's one saying, it's like, don't fight the Fed. You can think of that here too. Don't fight the macro. Go and find the path of least resistance when you're looking at the macroeconomic environment. The second piece is scalability and systems. When I'm looking at, can I personally grow this without breaking? Can you eventually systematize what you've personally figured out, right? If you are a custom software development company that creates custom software solutions for different businesses, that's really hard to scale. You got to go and find other people who are really good at writing custom software. You can only systematize things so much. At the end of the day, you got to have somebody who can go in, identify the opportunity, and create custom solutions. If you are a landscaping company, that's pretty easy to systematize. Hey, these are the tools we use. I'm way out of my depth here, but you get what I'm saying. You can kind of write your SOPs to have them work for you in a business that is very easily repeatable. But if you haven't personally mastered it before you go to systematize it, you can't systematize it. You don't know what you're doing. You can't scale it. For many reasons, this is why I like actually franchises more than I thought I would, is because in a franchise, yeah, you're paying a little bit of money to get into it, but they've systematized everything for you. It's like plug and play. I just go out and find business. It's a freaking great business model. Okay, let me show you kind of a real life example of how I use this framework to evaluate businesses, all right? So this is a scorecard. I don't know what to call it. I've built myself. I use this when I'm not only creating content, but when I'm just like looking at a business to get an idea of how it works. And I put a junk removal company in here. Dude, I freaking love junk removal. How hard is that? There's junk, I throw it away. AI is not going to automate that. We're always going to have junk. It's a freaking great business. So I put it in here, junk removal, and it spits out for me a couple of things. The first thing is this like Neanderthal score. It's exactly what it sounds like. Could a Neanderthal run this business? It's like, do I have to be smart? No. Junk removal? No. I see junk, I put it in a truck, I throw it away. Very simple. It then outputs this cost to play. For a junk removal business, it looks like $35,000 is probably the total that I need. And you can see here, like the full report is here. This is just kind of the scorecard. Is it to validate? This is a very easy business to validate. And what are my earnings potential? Looks like this is broken. $60. You can earn $60. It's pretty good. Oh, you make $60 a year. Whew, that's good money. That's good money in some places. Here's the rest of it. Rookie reality number one, can I personally handle the day-to-day operations? So what this does is it breaks down and scores each one of those. Operational complexity of a junk removal business, 3 out of 5. People complexity, 3 out of 5, right? Simple workflow, physically demanding, requires permits and disposal knowledge. So it's kind of difficult, but not really. People complexity, you can start solo, but you might need crews. So you see these numbers right next to it, this times 1.5 and these times 0.75. That's the weight that I've added to these scores. At the end, you'll see what the scores are. Operational complexity is pretty high. Only thing higher than operational complexity is customer acquisition, but it's probably the second most important thing. Can you do the fulfillment by yourself? The people complexity, that's not really, in my opinion, and that's why it's scored less than a 1. It's important, but I'm only going to be looking at businesses that have scores that allow me to leverage me, right? So I don't view it as that important of a thing. Reality number 2, can this junk removal business get customers? So customer acquisition, yes, there's multiple proven channels, Google, referrals, social. It's got a fast sales cycle, decent LTV. Oh, cool. LTV to CAC ratios of 3 to 5 to 1. Yeah, that's really good. Revenue model, so that gets a 4 out of 5. Revenue model gets a 2 out of 5 because these are one-time transactions, right? These are like project-based. It's not recurring revenue. The reason that customer acquisition is a 2, right, is like the value gets doubled in there is because that is the most, in my opinion, that is the most important thing when you're looking at these businesses. Do I understand customer acquisition? And is there a proven way that me with no experience could actually generate business if I got into this business? And you can see here when we're talking about junk removal, the answer is yes. It's a 4 out of 5. There's tons of proven channels. You can freaking knock doors. You could do on Google. You could go to Meta. But yes, there are proven channels for you to go out and get business. And so the assessment on this is it's good, it's strong. I don't know if I said this, but like, yeah, the higher the score, the better. The lower the score, the worse it is. So that revenue model piece was 2 out of 5. All right, can I personally survive the learning curve? In the junk removal business, solid 15 to 35% net margins, fast cash collections, which is same day, and predictable per job economics. We got a 4 out of 5 here. The cost to play, so this isn't actually calculated. This is just a raw number, about $35,000 that you need to get into this business. And so it doesn't give it to me right here, but if I go back to the top, I can go look at the full report, and the full report will tell me in order to get into this business, it's about $25,000 startup plus $5,000 in working capital plus $5,000 in an owner buffer. So the startup is going to be something like probably just your truck, paid ads. The last section, can I personally grow this without breaking? The macro tailwinds are good, 4 out of 5, and that's only, it has a 1 as the weight. We've got an aging population, so there's going to be a lot of people throwing crap away. We've also got a convenience economy. It's good. Plays into a lot of good macro trends. Scalability, it's a 3 out of 5. So it's like right middle of the road. You got to optimize routes. You can have a scheduling system, but it's inherently labor intensive, right? So it's always going to be kind of a difficult business. So it takes all those scores, it puts it here, it's weighted, and we get something that's called the Neanderthal score. So basically, if it's a 5 out of 5, it means a Neanderthal could run this business. And if it's a 1 out of 5, it's stop whatever you're doing. Don't think about this business again. Go find something else. Red flags in this business. Again, this is junk removal. There's no moat, right? So this is what I call the downside of the upside. So we've been talking about all the things that you should be looking at in order to get into these first-time businesses. Well, inherently, if it's easy for somebody who has no experience to get into it, it's going to be easy for someone with no experience to get into it. So anybody could get into it. You're going to have a lot of competitors getting into the space. There's no moat. That's literally just by definition, there's no moat if it's an easy business to get in and out of. And what happens in easy businesses, commodity service just means if something becomes a commodity or it's commoditized to pricing, bananas, apples, wheat, I'm trying to think wood, right? I get almost the same result anywhere that I go. If I go to Walmart or Target or Whole Foods, and an apple's an apple. Once it becomes commoditized to pricing, then that means pricing is the same everywhere. And if you have no pricing power, you can't actually extract better margins from your competitors. So everybody in that space kind of just charges the same thing. So that's why that's saying, hey, look, this is a commoditized service. Red flag here, just know that. And then the other red flag is these are one-time transactions, so there's no recurring revenue piece to it. But Nick's recommendation is exceptionally survivable, rookie friendly. That is one thing I didn't say in the very beginning of this. Your whole goal, year one, getting into entrepreneurship, survive. That's it. It's not to make $1 million. It's not to get that lake house that you've been dreaming of. Your first year in entrepreneurship, survive, learn the business, right? Year two, grow. And then years 3, 4, and 5 is just continued growth. But year one, we're not trying to double, triple, quadruple the size of the business. We're not trying to crush it, kill it. There's so many people who post, oh, dude, I'm freaking crushing it. I did this in 6 months. Oh, I did this in 1 year. I made $1 million in one transaction. Forget those people. Log off of Twitter. Don't go on social media again for a year. Just focus on understanding and building a business. That's it. Year two, growth. We can start hiring. We can start pushing paid ads a little bit more. We can start kind of pulling you out of all the operational fulfillment of the business and hiring people to do that. But year one, man, you're head down. It's some crazy statistic, but 20% of businesses fail in year one. 50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. 70% of businesses fail in the first 10. So just surviving in year one is hard. A 20% fail rate, dude. That's a lot of failure. Don't lose sight of the prize. Like you got to make sure you have a little, you're baking sourdough here, right? You got to make sure your starter works. You got to make sure that thing's going to actually be replicable over and over and over again. So like if that baby dies, it doesn't matter how cool your systems might have been. That you don't have anything to systematize. So year one, you are just focusing on the business. That's it. Year two, you're growing. And then year three, you turn into a holdco and you just roll up everything inside. I'm just kidding. Quick reality check on the scoring here is like every high score means that you can be the competitive advantage. Every low score means you're fighting against yourself, basically. So if it's got a high score, it means that you, with just your work ethic and really no experience, can outcompete other people. Okay, here's what I want you to do in the next 48 hours. Find a business that you've been looking at and run it through this framework. Okay, be honest with yourself. Can you personally make it work? Score it honestly. Like if you're not honest, it doesn't really matter. Not on the potential of the business, but on your potential to operate it, right? If you score it and anything comes under 3.5, screw it, go to the next one. If it's over 4, then we're in the ballpark of like, all right, cool. My hustle can actually get this business off of the ground. And if you're making excuses for a low score, red flag. Have you ever seen Arrested Development? There's this scene where Tobias and Lindsay are having a conversation, and I think it's Tobias. I can't remember who. One of them throws out having an open relationship in their marriage. So that means dating other people. And Tobias makes a joke. Lindsay asks Tobias, she's like, well, does it ever work? And Tobias goes, no. These people somehow delude themselves into thinking that it'll work, but it never does. But it just might for us. So if you're at that spot where you're looking at this and you're like, oh yeah, 3.5, not going to work, but it just might work for me. No, red flag, hard pass, don't do it. Don't freaking do it. You need to find something that's like green light, all systems go, I can jump into this thing. So to wrap this up, like there needs to be a mindset shift. Stop seeing the personal operation of a business as a limitation. It's actually your competitive advantage for your first business. Like, while your competitors are trying to delegate and systematize, you're going to outwork them personally. You're going to go out and get more customers. You're going to learn the business so that when the opportunity comes to scale it, you have a reservoir of knowledge to pull on to actually create these systems and to hire people and to train them. I hate that people are like, oh, I want to be working on the business, not in the business, or they're like trying to borrow 10 steps ahead. Like you can't skip steps 2 through 3. You just can't. You have to learn the business. And it's actually your competitive advantage when you are the business. I know it sucks. You don't want to be in that place. And eventually you'll be in a place where you can buy other businesses or do other things where you are not the linchpin. But when you first get into entrepreneurship, pick something where you can be the competitive advantage because you're betting on yourself. It's absolutely what you should be doing. So master it personally first, then systematize it, then delegate it. Never skip those steps. Master it, systematize it, delegate it, period. Find a business where like your personal effort, again, is the main competitive advantage and you won't lose. If you want to get access to the scorecard that I was showing and you can just, think around with it, I'll show it to you one more time. Here it is. All right. So if you want access to this, so like when I click new analysis, you can just hit any business that you want. Landscaping. Then sign up for my newsletter and you'll get a link to this and you can mess around with it all you want. It's pretty cool. Gives you like a scorecard and an output version. This is the first time that I've done a solo episode like this, so probably sucks. I'd like to hear that because I'm testing this out. I've gotten a lot of feedback from people that are like, we want to hear from you, do a solo episode. So that's what this is. How did I do? Let me know. If it was good, share this with a friend. If it wasn't, shoot me an email and say, Nick, you're a freaking moron. Don't ever do that again. And I will cry myself to sleep, but at least I'll know. That's an important thing. You know the ask to do at the end of all these episodes. If you like this, like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and I'll see you next time on Nikonomics.